What I want to bring up, and something we're all familiar with, is brick and mortar versus self-publishing, the traditional way of publishing. There's pros and cons to either. And at the turn of the century, the new millennium, self-publishing really started to come into our world. And now almost 50% of all books that are published are self-published. So I'd like to know your journey. What did you choose? Why did you choose it? What were the caveats? And that sort of thing. So would you talk us about your method of publication? What was your journey like, Jack?
With these books, it was definitely self-publishing all the way. And mostly that's because I had enough exposure to traditional publishing by other work that I had done that I knew that these stories would be so heavily edited that they wouldn't be the story that I wanted to tell anymore. And so I was just selfish with it. I wanted to tell it my way.
Oh, that's good.
I think for me, the hardest part of that is I then become hyper critical of myself because I am so convinced that this story is not worth anybody reading. And so I spent a lot of time. I think this one was in 10 or 12 drafts before I finally felt like my friends could read it. And then they get, total veto right. If they say, no, this is not a good story or any part of it's not good, then I'm going to pull it. I'm going to rewrite it again. That hasn't happened yet, fortunately. So, and people responded to them. The first one, I put it out there, and people genuinely seemed to react to it. I always told my wife, I said, if just one complete stranger writes me a letter and says, I really like this book, I'll keep going. And it happened. I don't know if she paid somebody or what, but somebody wrote me a letter and said that last chapter really helped me. My mother had just died. So I was like, wow, that's somebody actually read it and got something. So I guess by my own promise, I should keep doing this. And now I can't imagine doing it traditionally unless, they would give me some kind of super sweet contract where I could just do whatever I wanted and they would publish it. But having said that, they do bring all that marketing and PR and the ability to get into bookstores and all that kind of thing, which I completely lack. So I don't think I could have done this without the internet.
Who do you self-publish with? I mean,
I do it all myself.
All yourself, completely by yourself?
Yep.
Okay, now, because there's a lot of self-publishers out there that you can sign up for 600 or 800, depends on whatever,
Right, yeah.
So and what do you call your publishing company?
Graveworm Press, which actually was started way back in the 90s. I had a zine, a horror fiction zine called The Inflated Graveworm, which is a reference to H.P. Lovecraft. He once referred to his own short stories as nothing but a load of inflated graveworms.
Oh my goodness.
So I loved Lovecraft, so I used that as a title of the zine. And then from there, we were going to start publishing anthologies, so it became Graveworm Press. And because I had got the ISBN and things for Graveworm Press, I kept it. So
you buy your own copyrights and everything, that sort of thing. Okay,
Yep.
Good.
Well, I started out with a small ebook publisher. I got the Camaro Murders picked up by them, which surprised me because it was a little bit unorthodox with regard to format, and I was convinced that it was going to be too obscure and it wasn't going to be long enough for someone to pick up because it's a novella, but they liked it, and so I started off publishing 3 novellas with them, but got to the point where I felt like, I proved it to myself that I could get published, which was important for me at the time because I kind of had a different point of view on self-publishing than I do now. There's the term vanity publishing and that kind of thing that was sort of the term that was thrown around in the past. But once it kind of proved to myself that I could get published, and then saw how much of the marketing and the work still ends up on you as the author, and how much of that expectation, even with traditional publishers, they have that you have a social media platform and you have all these things that you're going to be kind of hoofing it for them, and you're splitting money with them, and there are the advantages of if you're going to be in a brick and mortar store, and there is a certain amount of street cred and PR that comes with that. But on the whole, the way I saw it was, this is my product. I want it to be the way I want it to be. I want to control release dates and timetables. I want to control pricing and when sales happen. And for the amount of work that I would be expected to put into it, I didn't see any sense in splitting the money with a publisher anymore. And so I went on my own and kind of haven't looked back. It's at the end of the day a creative outlet for me. So I first and foremost, so it doesn't bother me so much that maybe I haven't been able to quit my day job. But the way I look at it is I'm creating art, and in that sense. Especially today, although there's a glut of awful books out there because it is so easy to self-publish, I still try to write to professional standards and that kind of thing. And I want to be able to put forth something that's not necessarily formulaic, but that maybe has influences from things that have come before me. So in that sense, I can get away with maybe not fitting in a prescribed convention, but still kind of giving a nod to those things that I've read that I've enjoyed and kind of incorporate those influences. So I can stay true artistically, but maybe, that means I'm going to be the starving artist, but at the end of the day, that's okay. So,
of course, like probably most aspiring authors, that like my book would get picked up. My draft was going to get picked up and this is going to be great. And of course I found out very quickly that no. So I did send out to probably 20 traditional publishers and got rejects on all of them. And I think I tried a few agents after that. So I didn't get anywhere with that. I put it away for a while thinking, okay, it's not really readable. It's not going to be enjoyed. But I gave it to some friends and family, and they were like, you should just do this. You spent a long time on it. You should really just do this. So I did go the self-publishing way through Amazon, and I don't get too much PR or anything like that, and I don't spend any money on it, so I don't expect to any kind of turnaround. I did it for myself, really, and my family, and I wanted to leave my kids something of mine that they could know that their mom did something and accomplished something that she wanted to do. So that was really kind of my basis of writing it. And I do enjoy writing. So do I think it's a waste of time? No, I don't. I'm happy that I did it. Like Jack, I did find one person that really liked my book. He's a kid of a friend of mine, and he keeps asking if there's a sequel, and I'm like, somebody really related to it, and it makes you want to write more, so hopefully I will pick up at some point and keep going. So
when I first started to write for publication, I wanted to show my children. I thought, here I am, 30-some years old, and where am I and what am I doing? And I wanted to show them that if you to follow your passion, no matter how unrealistic it might seem at the time or unachievable, that if it was something you really believed in, that you should follow it. So my husband told me at the time I'd write and I'd get 20 rejections and nothing. Trust me. I mean, I saved all mine too. And I remember my husband said, if you figure out how long it takes you to write a book, and then you were figuring out how much you were getting paid, you're not even making minimum wage. I said, I don't want to hear it. I do not want to even hear that, because that is not how I think. He's like, I know, but I'm just saying. I said, but I don't want to hear it, because that's not what this is about. And so I did traditionally publish 4 books, and then, like you, I thought, hey, here we go. I'm set. I just have to think of an idea and write it, and we'll be gold. But no, that doesn't happen. And all those years later, with all of my, I had agents and I had all kinds of ideas, and I wrote books and I did everything. And I was telling you earlier, I even had an editor email me, and I was like, okay, here it comes, saying, do you have an agent? I would love to work with you on a project. I remember we weren't able to connect before, but I love your work. And I was so excited. I called my agent. I said, okay, can you please send something to this person? Because she emailed me personally, and I was sure I was going to get a sale. And I got a form rejection. I remember it came in the mail. That's, here comes the letter, and I'm like, oh man, this isn't good. Came in the mail. It was a form rejection, and I was just brokenhearted. And I cried and, all that stuff. And my husband said, Mary, maybe, do you think You seem to be in such pain and misery. Maybe you should like not write anymore. Then I got mad at him. I said, don't ever say that again because I am a writer. So I was all mad. First I was pathetically sad, and then I got mad. And I'm like, forget it. I'm doing this. So then I went back to my writing, and picked myself up, right back to my writing. Self-publishing comes along, and oh man, I thought, all I want is for me to have an opportunity to get this out to readers. And I remember the man from Albania, I didn't even know where Albania was, who wrote me this whole thing about how he read this book with his granddaughter or whatever and loved it and blah, blah, blah. So that was the beginning of my self-publishing journey, which has been absolutely wonderful, probably 2011 or 12. 5.5 years ago, my husband left his 37-year career in manufacturing and became, basically working with me as a business manager. I wish he would write, but he can't write. So he has to do all of the other stuff. And we worked with Jerry and whatnot. And he is great. When we go to conferences, the people are asking for Jim. I'm just the writer. It's like, okay, can we work on this, whatever it is? And it's wonderful. We really have, we have a business. It's Mary Campisi Books, LLC. And we treat it like a business. We talk about what's going to publish. We have big whiteboard calendars. What's coming out here? What's coming out there? When do you think you'll do this? What kind of promotion are we doing? And, he keeps me on track, probably from his manufacturing days of, cutting the waste, cutting the fat, lean manufacturing, if anybody's ever heard of that. Came home one day for lunch and said, well, how many words did you write? This is like early on. Like, what do you mean? How many words did you write today? No. Huh? Yeah, he was in production. He's like, well, and he was trying to be nice about it, but I could tell that brain was working. And I said, well, I don't know. And he's like, well, do you know how much time you spent writing as opposed to like other things? I'm like what other things? He's like, like social media, like Facebook or... I said, you have no idea what I'm doing. And he said, well, in work, we write down what we're doing and we track how long it takes us. He's like, and then if you just would write down how many words a day that you're writing, I bet you'd get more productive. I couldn't wait for him to leave. I was so mad. So I got my yellow notebook out and I thought, all right, let me see how many words a day I actually am writing and how much I'm like spending on this other stuff. Boy, was I wasting time. So it was like a light bulb. After that, I knew the importance of doing all of the stuff that he said. And then I said, yeah, I'm just your machine that you're like tweaking. And I became very productive. And then I got it. And then I saw, okay, this is a business. I have to do this, this, and this. And everything flows, and it's great. And we do make a very good team. We work on our projects, but we hire out our graphic designers, the editor, assistant. We have an assistant that helps us. And I just got done doing a whole big cover remake on a whole series. And I work with my cover designer. This is my vision. This is the tone I want. These are the color schemes. What do you think? And she's a pretty big, designer. She'll say, let me get some graphics. We'll come back, because it's all about branding and all that stuff, so everything flows. And then I'll be like, yeah, that's right, that's good. So it's writing, but then there's this whole other aspect that we all talked about that is important. And I do enjoy it. And I love working with my husband. He's set up in our dining room converted that was never really a dining room. That's his office, and I'm across the hall, and we email each other. And yes, we really do. And then I'll say, hey, what do you think about this? He's like, I'm working. I'm like, oh, sorry. I have to be more mindful of that. But it's great. It works well. So I love the self-publishing aspect. It is a lot of work. But the trad end, no, I don't think I'll go back there. So I'm very happy where I am.